that now, and it will be shared with Women in National. All right, so welcome all to our 2020 elections Women in eDiscovery info session. We're really pleased to have you all. Today's a really informal session. We've invited everyone, across the U.S. to join to get your answers, to get your questions answered about the upcoming elections. As you've seen on LinkedIn and with your chapter email correspondence, our elections have now shifted to be all together at the same time for October. So they're right around the corner. So this session is to really familiarize yourself with what goes into being on the board and serving your chapter in the various roles. The time commitment goes into it, what all kind of experience or prerequisites you need to have in order to be on the board. There's none. And we just, so we have some, template questions that we get a lot. We're going to go through that. And then, but please feel free to ask any questions you might have, either in the chat box, I'll be looking at that, or at the end, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask them live as well. So we're going to kick this off. We're going to do some intros first, and then we're going to go for some questions. My name is Lauren Doucette. I'm the Southwest Regional Director for Women in eDiscovery. I oversee 5 chapters on the West Coast. It's Denver, Phoenix, San Diego, Orange County, and LA. Been in this role for about a year now. Before, I previously served my local chapter, San Diego, as a committee member first, helping with social media, then as assistant chapter director, and then chapter director. So I'm really pleased that you all made it here today. And let's go ahead and kick it off. Amanda, will you introduce yourself next?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren. My name is Amanda Cadet, and I am the Assistant Director for the Los Angeles chapter. I have been doing this now for, I think, 6 years, but it doesn't even seem possible. I have held, this is the 3rd different role type that I have held, and that is actually probably one of the ways that I may have met you, Lauren. So it seems impossible to believe, but that is how I have done it. And I'll kick it over to Claire Lee because I know that she is on the board with me in Los Angeles.
Hi, my name is Claire Lee. I'm with the LA chapter, and I'm the membership director. And I'm only with the board for about 2 years, so I just finished my first term. Nice meeting you all.
Wonderful, thanks, Claire. And actually, I forgot to introduce Gina first. I'm so sorry, Gina. Gina Anders is my counterpart out in the East Coast, and Gina's co-hosting this with me. Gina, do you want to give an intro?
Sure, no problem. Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Anders. I'm the Southeast Regional Director for Women in eDiscovery. I'm also a former chapter board director for the DC chapter, and I've been a member of Women in eDiscovery since its founding in 2007. Wow. So that doesn't make me old or anything. But I'm very happy to be here today.
Wonderful. Awesome. Erin, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Erin Tomine. I'm the chapter director in San Diego. Previously, I was the assistant chapter director here under Lauren's guidance. Let's see, what else was I talking about? How I got involved. I had, I guess maybe we can save that for later. I don't know how I got involved. I think Lauren actually reached out to me and asked if you thought if I was interested, and I didn't think I was qualified. But we'll go into that in some of our questions later, and it turns out, yes, I am. And I'm the San Diego chapter, and I think I will kick it over to another one of our board members who's on, Carlene. She's on the San Diego board as well.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am the membership director for the San Diego chapter. I've been with the board for a year. But I was involved in different capacities for a couple of years before I joined the board, on several social committees and charity committees. As membership director, I have worked with other members of our board, reaching out to individuals in our community, just trying to kind of solicit members and, you know, recruit people from college on up to see, to get them, you know, interested in what we're doing and to facilitate their involvement in the eDiscovery community. So it's been a great experience in the last year, actually the last few years that I've been involved with the San Diego chapter. And
Thank you.
whoever wants to pick up the mic can feel free to.
Corinne, let's go with you next. Please introduce yourself, which chapter you serve and the role, and then how you got involved in Women in E in a leadership position.
Sure, yeah. So I'm Corinne Cartwright. I'm the membership director in the Atlanta chapter. I've been serving on the board on and off for the last 6 years in various different roles. I got involved in the Atlanta chapter actually after it dissolved maybe about 8 years ago, and we had a real need in the community for everybody to kind of gear up and join again. And so we kind of spearheaded, myself and a couple of other ladies spearheaded, you know, restarting the Atlanta chapter, and we've had great success. You know, we get 30, 40 people at each meeting. So, you know, took on the leadership role kind of when there was a lack of it in our area. So, organization that I love and support, and I'm so glad you guys still do it.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Lisa, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lisa Walden. I'm the chapter director of Phoenix. I've been with WE since 2016, and I'm on my second term as chapter director. I was invited to a WE meeting by my colleague, Lydia, who was the then Phoenix chapter director, and she said, come on in. And I went and I met some wonderful women, and the topics and subjects were interesting. Before I knew it, I was running for chapter director, and here I am 2 years later, and now I'll be moving on. I've moved on to the new chapter directors on the leadership committee, and so it's been great, a great experience in terms of meeting women and getting involved, and it's been a very interesting and wonderful time.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Who do we have next? Let's see. Katie, do you want to go next?
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Katie Curiel. I am in the Miami chapter of WE. We are in our first year. I am the chapter director, and I got involved because I have always loved this organization. I've always attended events in other cities, and I had colleagues that had started or had been a part of their chapters in their cities, and I thought, you know, how can we do that here in South Florida? I reached out to Gina, and she was so wonderful and gave information to help us get started. Provided that this is our first year, these last 4 months have been interesting, but we're trying to do the best that we can, and really excited to be here and excited to have multiple years like you guys here have on the call. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Katie. Kristen, I think you said you were on a board as well.
Hi, everybody. Kristen Trailer from the Richmond chapter. I'm currently the assistant chapter director. I've been the chapter director. We've got Candace and Amanda are on as well. I can't remember how many years it's been, but kind of the same as Corinne. The chapter sort of fell off, and they needed people to reconstitute it, and I've been going ever since. So I'll turn it over to Candace or Amanda. Or
Candace or Amanda, do either of you want to share? Perfect.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'd like to also introduce Monique. She has been on helping us in Los Angeles for social media and social. So Monique, if you want to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Can everyone hear me? Good. All right. My name is Monique Samudio. I'm a baby in this industry. I've only been with my company for a year, and I want to say it was my boss who actually got me into Women in eDiscovery. Ironically, he is a man. He took me to one of my social that Women in eDiscovery was having the first week that I was employed, and I met some wonderful ladies, and then I think it was like 2 weeks after I was at a meeting and now they can't get rid of me. So I unofficially have been helping them out with social media stuff, and that is the position I will be reapplying for come October. So I'm very excited. I've met wonderful women and I can't wait to, have relationships with all of you guys.
Wonderful. All right.
Thank you.
Sheila, do you also want to introduce yourself? You serve on a committee for us in San Diego. Oh, Sheila, I think it does look like you've unmuted yourself, but we can't hear. Let's see. Does that work now? Do you want to try again? Oh, shoot, still nothing. Okay, sorry, Sheila. Sheila serves in the San Diego chapter, our social events and membership. And I know we have a few more board members on the call. Does anyone else want to introduce themselves before we jump into questions? Yeah, go for it, Trish.
So,
hey, so I wasn't sure if you actually.
Oh, I think there are two Trishes. Trish Alatorre, go for it.
Thank you. So I am the Assistant Director of the DC chapter, of the Washington DC chapter, and this is my first time in a board position. I have supported the organization over numerous years and was gently coerced, perhaps, or gently, guided.
We like to say voluntold.
Yeah. And, Gina was part of that and some of my other colleagues. And it's like, oh, sure, come on. But it's been a great opportunity. I joined Women in eDiscovery just to, connect with women in the industry, to certainly learn more about the industry and continue to expand, in this great field that we all need to continue to be a part of. So it's been a great experience. And, being a first year, I'm sure I will run again.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Trish. And let's have the other Trish talk now. Sorry about that. Let's see. Trish Zahir, do you want to try unmuting yourself? Let's see. Don't know if that's working either. Trish Zahir is on our, oh, there you go. Unmuted, I think.
Ta-da!
Perfect.
Sorry, so multiple Trishas. That's not common. So I have served for a little over 2 years as the secretary for the San Diego chapter. Prior to that, I was an active member and attended every event I could. I'm very passionate about this organization. It's been integral to my career development, my education, and my personal growth. I would say the biggest thing that I've gained from being a member of WE is gaining public speaking skills and just overall confidence in myself and my abilities in my job, and kind of doing away with the imposter syndrome. Being part of such a large group of strong, capable, ambitious women has been a true privilege.
That's wonderful. Definitely echo that too. Thank you so much, Trish. All right, so we're going to do our questions now, and all of you board members and committee volunteers, please feel free to jump in and provide your insight into these. So a common question we get pretty regularly is, do I need prior board experience before serving on this board? Either on a different board, do I need to have committee experience? Who would like to take that one?
I'll jump in.
I can hop in. Oh, go right ahead, Erin. Did you want to? Oh, well, I was going to say absolutely not. You do not need prior experience. Lauren alluded to it in the beginning when she was introducing herself, but we welcome anybody who is interested in volunteering. It's a very rewarding group, and you will make connections that thus far have lasted me my career, because I was on a participant before becoming a board member. And you really can just learn so much, and everybody here will support you and help you so that you can find out what you need to know. And it doesn't have to be a scary undertaking. So we welcome and encourage anybody who wants to participate.
Awesome. And what about, knowing a lot about eDiscovery or being an expert in the field? I get that question a lot too. Is it required for you, one, to be an eDiscovery professional? Can I be a paralegal? Can I be a secretary? Can I be in sales? Can I be, not even in legal? Do I need to have, do I need to have experience in eDiscovery? And do I need to be an expert in it in order to serve on the board, even with creating content and whatnot? What are your thoughts? Do you want Lisa, Claire, or Corinne?
Sure, I can jump in on that one. You don't have to be an expert. One of the great things about the organization is that the knowledge base that is available, there are people that have come, we have all, in Phoenix, for example, we have all different types of people, whether paralegals, vendors, sales, people that vary in experience, that have no information. And that helps to drive the organization and your meetings, because then your members will let you know about what all the information that they want to learn about. So for example, in Phoenix, we went through the EDRM from the beginning, started from the beginning and going through to teach people about what eDiscovery is about. And so it's an opportunity to learn and to throw out ideas, and especially not knowing anything is great for the chapter, because then you can give ideas on programs and presentations that the chapter can bring that will educate everyone overall.
Awesome. That's really, really good point. Anyone else want to comment on that at all?
I can share some of my experience. I've learned a lot after joining the board, because through all these connections with different people professionally, and also I'm in the role of the membership director, and I go to different classes or UCLA to talk sometimes, and then I just grab my chance. So either I will make connection with the people that are already in the industry, or people that are new to the industry. So I think this is very a rewarding experience for me too.
Absolutely. All right.
I also just wanted to add, Lauren, that on the, not needing to be an expert in eDiscovery, the organization has sort of branched out even beyond what we used to consider core eDiscovery, and a lot of our programming now, encompasses, data privacy, information governance, cybersecurity. So a lot of other sort of related areas that are sort of converging and impacting eDiscovery quite a bit. So there's, a lot of room to continue to grow, even if you are an expert in eDiscovery, which I would not qualify myself as. But there's certainly, even, if you think that all there is to know about it, there's still a ton to be learned and talked about, and this is a great opportunity, especially joining the board, to kind of bring that additional programming to the members.
Absolutely. Good point too about the CCPA stuff and GDPR, all that's becoming so big, privacy, everything. That's awesome. Okay, what is the monthly time commitment for serving on a board? We get this question a lot, and I know it varies chapter by chapter. So let's go ahead and hear, oh, so cute. Let's hear, I guess, a response from each chapter that's represented on the call today. That would be wonderful. So yeah, we'll kick it off. So does someone from LA want to speak first? Time commitment?
Sure, I think that it varies, and Claire could probably speak to how long it has taken her to do the beautiful flyers that she puts together, because she probably has invested the most time because of that. But it really does depend, because sometimes it takes longer if we're struggling to get people to present for us in our luncheons. But I would say that it doesn't take that many hours per month. I know that's not a very strong quantifiable response, but I'd say definitely under 10, and maybe a few per week is probably, if you're thinking about, 2 to 3 per week maximum. And Claire, you could probably speak to how much it has taken you to put together some of the beautiful documentation that you have done.
Just to let you know, I have a help now. Monique is helping, which is good, because we all help each other. It's not only like one person, so we have such a great team here. And well, average, because we only have a meeting, once a month, so you can only spend so much time on one flyer. I think the time is for me to spend is most likely connecting with people, try to get them interested about our chapter or the organization so that they can get involved. So I would say definitely less than 10 hours a month, or even maybe less than 8 hours for me.
Okay.
So it's not, yeah.
Can I add on that real quick?
Go for it.
Yes, I was just going to ask you to.
So as a new member, definitely like once a month is the meeting. But when you start to get into that and you see the constant communication emails, it's not like I think of it as like work. I see an email from Claire, Amanda, Erica, other board members, and I say like, oh, like, let's have fun. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to plan? So in that essence, it's not really like, I don't feel like it's a time commitment to me because it ends up being something that I want to do. Like we end up being friends, and it ends up being like, hey, like what are we going to talk about? So that's just my tidbit.
Awesome. Let's hear from Atlanta. What's like a rough estimate for time commitment per month, would you guys say?
Yeah, I'll echo Monique's sentiment that it's very much friendly and we're all good friends, and maybe we're going to have a board meeting, but we're going to go out and have a glass of wine or a happy hour and get all of our things done. We've had many of the same members on the board for quite a while, so we kind of have a cadence going and a pretty good, well-oiled machine. I would say, we also have a good number of business development people on the board, so the reaching out, the spreading the word about the chapter has been pretty seamless. So probably an hour a week, maybe. We only do a meeting every other month, so probably less time for us, but there's definitely some sit down if you're the membership director to do the list and make sure it matches up with the website, and then possibly reaching out to members that are no longer members and saying, hey, would you like to be a member again? Would you like to, re-engage? So just, that's probably the only part that feels like work. At least for me, that was my job. But if you're the meeting director, it's probably, putting together the evite, making sure the list is right, putting that all together. So probably an hour or two a week, maybe more the week before, a few weeks before the meeting.
Awesome. Richmond, let's hear from you guys. Is it about an hour or so a week? Is it closer to 2 hours a week? What do you guys think?
So we only meet quarterly.
Okay.
So I would say it's like an hour every 3 months. Besides the meeting, of course. I mean, obviously the person who's planning the meeting spends a little bit more time, but she's been doing it for so long, it's sort of like a well-oiled machine as well. Although she is not going to run again, so we will need somebody new to come in and do that. But she had so many contacts that it was kind of easy for her. And I think probably the membership director maybe takes a little bit longer to get those lists up to date. Again, we're not talking like hours and hours. So I don't think it's a huge time commitment, at least here in Richmond.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'd like to highlight that each chapter is different. Like we're hearing some folks do have a seminar every month. Others have it every other, some have it quarterly, and I think it's a good spread amongst the US about how we do that. We actually have international chapters too now, so I should include them. So yeah, I think that the participation or the time commitment definitely varies per chapter. But it sounds like we're hearing, if you have sessions, every month, it's looking like, maybe 4 to 8 hours a month work. If you're doing one every quarter, maybe a little bit less than that, especially if you have a lot of experienced board members, which is awesome. Great. So another question we get
Can I just add to that? Sorry, before we move on to the next question. So in San Diego, we had monthly meetings, as well as we did quite a few social events. We had a charity gala. We did quite a lot of larger events as well. So those did tend to take more time in the weeks and months gearing up to those events. That said, pandemic, right? We are we're not doing those this year for obvious reasons. And so at least for the foreseeable future, I anticipate that, being even less time per month, per week, just because we don't have to work to secure a venue right now. We don't have to work to have a sponsor for our lunch right now. All we're really doing is trying to coordinate our speakers and as well as having our board meetings and then the actual monthly event. So I think at least until we are able to meet again in person, the time commitment on that monthly level is going to be lower than what we had seen and experienced in the past.
Absolutely.
Not to say we can't still have fun and share a glass of wine. It's just virtual.
Yeah, and I see a lot of our chapters too doing these fun virtual happy hours or roundtable discussions, which is great too. We're still staying connected even in this weird, strange world. And I think too, I know we have some newer members on our call. I think it's important to highlight, what Erin said and a couple others. What actually goes into being on the board, what kind of preparation or what kind of work. Erin just touched on it, putting together sessions, as we've all mentioned, education sessions, either one per month, on one every other month, or one every quarter. And like Erin just mentioned, finding a speaker, putting together content, and finding a sponsor. Used to be also finding a venue, which is not an issue at the moment. But then also I know that there are other things that some of our chapters do, like Erin just mentioned for San Diego. But if we get other board members comment on that, what kind of other tasks do the board members, contribute to collectively outside of just the education sessions?
So this is Trish from DC, and I'll talk a bit about our chapter. We do monthly lunches, and they've been Zoom, over the last couple of months. We've also, since we have been working remotely, we also instituted some happy hours, some virtual happy hours that went very well. We had a coffee chat last week on D&I, which was fantastic. And so I've only been on the board, again, this is my first year, and I was just elected. So, we have a board meeting once a month, which is maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And that's just to prepare for like the next up and coming meeting or suggestions or topics. And then we divide up who's going to contact individuals to be speakers, maybe a vendor, etc. But truly, even me, I ran the D&I coffee chat last week. I was in charge of getting the speakers. And even being in charge of getting the speakers, talking with them, preparing the agenda, being the moderator on the coffee chat, still it's less than 2 or 3 hours a month, and we have monthly meetings. We also do, last year, I don't know if we're going to do it this year, but last year we did a boat tour on the Potomac River that everybody was thrilled about. So that was very well. Again, it took a little more involvement because it was a bigger event, kind of different. But still, with everything, you have quite a few people on the board. There's 5 of us, so you can divide and conquer tasks. And normally everybody on the board is certainly willing to do so, to divide and conquer. So that way it is evenly spread out and somebody isn't carrying the whole weight of the events and everything. So again, I'd say at most 2 or 3 hours a month, and we're a pretty active chapter.
Awesome. Very cool. That boat event sounds really fun. Do other chapters want to comment on what all goes involved in being on the board outside of planning the educational content, charity events, other social networking things?
Sure. For Los Angeles, we have coordinated evening events whereby we collect different donations or contributions for local charities. That's something that we have aspired to do at least once a year. In the past, we've also been able to manage it as much as biannually, sometimes even quarterly. So that's something that we really love to do there in addition to our monthly luncheons. We have also participated in, I suppose we could call it a tri-county event for a boot camp with Lauren's group in San Diego. Well, now it's not your group because you're regional, but with San Diego, Orange County, and us, of course, in Los Angeles. And that has taken some coordination because that is typically a most of the weekend day event. So those are just a few things that we have done that open up to the community of legal professionals and have been really fun. And they're in addition to the typical responsibilities that we consider ourselves having.
Wonderful. Other chapters? All right.
So Lauren, one thing that I'll mention here, I don't know if we were going to cover it, but some of the chapters also can get involved in some of our national events that we do. So we have a number of sponsors. We participate in legal tech, for example. We usually have a table there. We usually have a table at the Georgetown conference here on the East Coast, Legal Tech West Coast as well. There are a number of others. So sometimes, like Lauren or I will reach out to see, if anyone wants to volunteer, to work those events. They're tremendous networking opportunities. We also have our national conference, which we didn't get to have this year, but we'll likely have again next year. That's also an opportunity if you wanted to, work on one of the committees. Lauren and I were on the speakers and topics committee last time, which was a ton of fun, but a little bit of a wild ride. It was our first conference, but the next one will be a lot smoother and easier, I think. And again, just great additional opportunities for you to expand your network, reach out to folks that you would never have a reason to reach out to otherwise, and just hone your leadership skills and your event planning skills and all sorts of other skills. So it's a lot of fun.
Wonderful. Yeah, outside of go for it.
I was just going to say yes, and I have participated in various events that Gina just described, from Houston to New York, down to the Southeast, and they are all so much fun, and you meet so many different women. So definitely great opportunities for networking. And I also forgot, Lauren, I didn't participate because I had a conflict, but I know that we also did wine tasting up north. So
that was a lot of fun. Yeah, San Francisco and Silicon Valley did a joint wine tasting day in Napa, which was fantastic. Yeah, so to summarize, what goes into serving on the board for Women in E is, first and foremost, of course, serving your members by providing educational content on various topics. It sounds like a lot of us do some charity events, either grabbing donations or putting together evening social events that raise money for those groups. Of course, all the networking events that go into keeping your members connected as well. Some of us do evening events, some of us do weekend things. Those national conferences or affiliated participation opportunities would have with ILTA or a local paralegal association, etc. And then, the larger kind of Women in E joint, conferences and whatnot. SoCal did one, as you mentioned. Texas also did one. They're really fun. So, yeah, lots of fun things to do on the board. So what else? I know, I think Corinne, or maybe it was Trish, mentioned about board meetings. Can you guys all discuss, how regularly you're meeting as a board? Is it all via email? Are you meeting? Did you used to meet up in person? And are you doing Zoom calls, or is a lot of it being handled? All the board responsibilities are being handled via email.
I can take that just from the Atlanta perspective. We used to meet once a month in person, and then we would have, correspondence via email and text, and then, tie up all the loose ends. Kind of the board meeting was, what are the action items that we need to accomplish? Who's going to take them on? Sometimes somebody knew a speaker in a forensics group that was perfect for whatever we were doing, right? So their job was to reach out to them. So it's a, combined effort, obviously. And then, probably monthly. And then lately, it's just been like a conference call since COVID. But hopefully, we can have a socially distant glass of wine somewhere soon.
So ours is the same. We meet monthly. We did meet in person until the pandemic, and now we've been doing a Zoom call. If for some reason that we feel like, Sarah, our director, she indicates, is there anything that we need to discuss on today's call, or here's my update, so there's sometimes that we'll do it on a Zoom call. There's sometimes that we just do it via email, depending on what we have to wrap up, as Corinne indicated, and what else is on the agenda to take care of the next month.
So, Richmond, We pretty much have been doing everything by email. Right before COVID, we had actually started going out to lunch and having lunch meetings, which was so nice. And so, but no, we haven't done that in a while.
Awesome. Lisa, what about you? You were about to say something.
In Phoenix, we were doing quarterly, because what we would do at the beginning of the year, we would meet up and plan our entire year. So we would plan all of our meetings for the entire year, and then we would do follow-ups via email and meet quarterly in person. And then we just had a Zoom call since these unknown times that we're living in. But we plan out the year at the beginning of the year, which made it way easier in terms of knowing what we were going to be doing.
That's wonderful. I think a couple other chapters do that same thing at the top of the year, or right when the new term starts, kind of planning it out. I think that's a great structure. Yeah. Anyone else want to comment on how regularly your board meets, if you do meet, or if it's all handled via email?
For Los Angeles, we have been lately doing a lot of email to coordinate across multiple schedules. We were doing conference calls primarily, again, because of the coordination of West Side to downtown was just too hard in the middle of the workday. On prior boards that I served, we actually would meet once a month in person. So it really did depend upon what worked best for the board. And that's what's so wonderful about Women in eDiscovery is we are all committed to the same purpose. And we're working together to be able to accommodate each other's unique needs and complicated lives. So to that end, we continue to adapt to be able to work with that. So if our schedules are absolutely insane and the Wednesday that we dedicated for that month doesn't work, we all email each other and say, oh my God, I'm going crazy, I can't do this. And we switch it. And that's what you can expect if you want to participate with Women in eDiscovery, is that we will understand, because we've all been there. So that's how we do it here in Los Angeles.
Thank you. Awesome. All right. So I guess more the nitty gritty, what roles are available on each board and what those roles do. So each of our chapters has 5 board positions. And every term they come up, there's no like incumbent situation or anything like that. All 5 roles come up, and all 5 are available for folks to nominate themselves or nominate their peers for that role in the election process. We had a little change this year to our roles, but we'll go over them right now. We've got the chapter director, really leads the charge, leads the group. We've got the assistant chapter director, really supports. The membership director, which many of us have already touched on today, updating the membership lists, making sure that members are receiving emails, that they have access to the website, etc. Meetings director takes the charge, takes the lead on developing content, finding those speakers. Of course, it's a team effort, of course, but taking the lead on that. And then our brand new position, we used to have a secretary position, took notes at the meetings, provided them to the regional director, updated the RSVP information, things like that. That role has been replaced with social media director, which is super exciting. I know a lot of our chapters are very active on social. And that role will be fully finalized in a role or a job description, likely sometime later this week. So your chapters likely will email that information, that new role out to you, either on social media or via email. But essentially it'll be managing the social media networks for the local chapter, as well as resharing what national social media content is posted. So with that, though, let's go into some nitty gritty. I know we have a really good spread of folks on our call today that had these various roles. If you want to, talk for just a few seconds about what your role, what your chapter's interpretation of each of these roles are, and what you do on a monthly or quarterly basis to support the chapter in your role. Let's go ahead and start with our chapter directors. We have, it looks like 4 or 5 on here. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to comment on what the chapter director role is for you.
Hi, this is Lisa from Phoenix. I think the chapter director position is actually the easiest. Well, next to assistant chapter director. And that's because if you have a board, a strong board that surrounds you with people that are on top of their jobs, like for example, the meetings director, I think is the most difficult position, because you have to contact, get in touch with the speakers, the sponsors, etc. but having, you know, everyone on the board will help. And so navigating through, you know, working with really strong individuals that are in each position makes the chapter board position easiest. I think the most difficult part with the chapter board position is keeping abreast and on top of all the rules and regulations to make sure that the policy and procedures are followed. And, you know, that's the biggest thing I think with the chapter director, and that we're not running afoul of the policies and procedures and keeping an eye and being in the loop on everything that's going on. But having a really strong board around you makes it way easier, and then keeping on top of the policies and procedures.
Awesome, great. Let's hear from one other chapter director.
Hey, this is Amanda Merrill from Richmond. And I am new to being a chapter director this year, and I want to echo what we just heard, that having a strong board has really been key for me. My first year as a director has been kind of, well, I was out on maternity leave for a portion of it, which was a wonderful surprise. And now with the pandemic, I've seen my role as keeping in touch with people and trying to expand the profile of the group. We have been trying to find different ways to access different kinds of people to bring our group to a different audience. Especially here in Richmond, we have a relatively small but very tight-knit community in eDiscovery. So a lot of us already know each other and we see each other at a lot of these events anyway. So we are putting our feelers out, trying to find new ways to meet people who don't know we exist and might be as excited about the organization as we are once they find out.
Awesome, thank you. Let's hear from our assistant chapter directors. What does that role mean for you in your chapters, and what kind of work do you do?
Well, in the absence of anyone talking, I can pitch in. When the director is unavailable to do certain tasks and duties, such as this year we had a director that went on maternity leave, helping to cover the things that she would do and be the person who's checking in on things, making sure that meetings are scheduled, or trying to keep our crazy schedules on task, which is not always easy because we're all very busy. Trying to address different individual members who come to you with questions or concerns, because sometimes no matter how strong your board is together, they will still have individual needs or concerns or worries about what's going on with the board. So being able to be that sounding board to keep everyone kind of moving in the same direction has been something that I found myself doing, especially in the past few months, is just addressing those kind of one-off concerns or worries, and then being the voice behind supporting something, particularly based upon some of those one-off conversations that I get, supporting it or being kind of the final yay or nay on a particular email vote based upon some of that feedback that I'm getting kind of filtered my way. And then trying to identify places where you can step up, offer help, or bring value where there may not be value. And then of course, someone mentioned it, but checking on the rules and regulations and being able to be that guidepost if someone does ask you a question as it pertains to those. And I'm trying to find other plugs in places where we can fill in, because as someone mentioned, meeting director is probably the hardest. So trying to help facilitate ideas that we can go to, because I think that that's the most important, like impossible but important job on the board. So just trying to make sure that everybody is helping and pitching as much as possible. Those are some of the things that I saw the position being responsible for.
Awesome, thanks, Amanda. Do we have another assistant chapter director on the call who'd like to discuss their role?
Sure, I'll go ahead. I mean, I think it's all of our board members help to brainstorm ideas of, you know, who are we going to have come speak, what are the topics. I mean, I don't see that kind of falling to just one, you know, board member. It falls to all of us. So I think that's one thing. And then I used to do the elections, which now I don't have to do anymore. So it's great.
Thank you. And let's go to membership. If we have, I think we have a few people on membership. Want to discuss your role and what kind of tasks you do?
I can start. A big thing, obviously, is just ensuring that our membership list is up to date, that we're sending out correspondence to all our members to update them regarding events and meetings. additionally, trying to reach out to different members in the community, whether it's through different paralegal association, community college, networking with them, letting them know what we do, and trying to recruit new people who might not necessarily even be in eDiscovery, but pique their interest as to what eDiscovery is. Maybe it's something that they can come to our meetings, learn more about, and then even pursue it as a career. So just a lot of connection with different organizations within the community, as well as keeping up with our members and letting them know what is going on and what we're doing and events coming up.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlene. Can we hear from one other membership director?
Sure, I'll chime in. Sorry for the disruption. For the most part, it's been the list. So maintaining the list, making sure the list was right. We went through, I think when we either went through a new regulation or something, we had a big list gut and then the new website. So that was several years ago, but ever since then, it's been pretty easy as long as you download the Excel spreadsheet, and then going out and evangelizing the story, right? Which is the most fun part of talking about all the wonderful women that we meet, the great programming that we have on. There's very few people I talk to that I'm not saying, hey, you need to come to our next Women in eDiscovery meeting, or what would you want to hear at our meeting? And just like being out there in the world, talking to people and spreading the message. So
awesome. Thank you. And then lastly, because we're not going to go into secretary position since it's been phased out, and you'll receive more information about the new social media director position via email from your chapters. But let's go to meetings director. What all goes is involved with that, and what your role looks like in your own chapter. I wonder if we have any on here. Maybe not. Well, I can fill it in. It is different. The role plays out differently for each chapter, as you're kind of hearing. Lots of the chapters take a more holistic approach, more team approach. Others really stick to the policies and procedures for this person to do this role, etc. But as mentioned before, the meetings director really takes the lead on making sure that educational meetings happen. So, some chapters take a survey at the beginning of the year. Some chapters just have an ongoing list for what people have asked for in the past, or maybe they polled even just the board. So developing a content or agenda, either taking lead on that or developing as a team, identifying experts in that topic who can speak on the matter, securing them, making sure they sign and understand the non-solicitation policy. And then, sometimes the meetings director also takes the lead on finding the venue or securing a sponsor. Other times it falls to the assistant chapter director, the chapter director, to manage those relationships, and or as a team, lots of times the team will pitch in for those type of activities as well. So a big job for sure. Of course, if you're meeting every month and putting on content every month, it can be more exhaustive work than just quarterly or just every other month, and as well as the type of team you're joining, whether everyone really pitches in with that or if it's really meetings director taking lead on that. So those are the 5 roles. Again, you'll hear more about social media in the next week, likely. But I want to turn it over next to Gina to talk more about logistics of the actual election. The term is new this year. The timing is new this year for when we're hosting them, as well as how to vote. And then and how you can nominate yourself. So I'll turn over to Gina.
Can you hear me now?
We can, thanks.
Okay. So this is now, we've moved all the elections to the October time period, right? So all the chapter boards are having elections at the same time. This year we will be, and it's a 2-year term, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but it used to be just a 1-year term, and we sort of found that a lot of folks felt like they were just finally settling into their role on the board, and then it was time to have an election again. So we just made the decision to expand to a 2-year board role, because that way you really get a chance to, you have enough ramp up period, but then you can actually settle into the role and feel like you're you've got a rhythm established and enjoy it for a while. So I think that's a good change. We will be having elections for the first time due to COVID via the website, actually. So, and I don't quite have a lot of detail to share with you yet on just the logistics of how that's all going to work. The executive directors are actually in the process of kind of working that out, and there'll be a sort of a national communication on that coming out in plenty of time before the elections. But basically, you will nominate. You can nominate yourself. You can nominate someone else that'll go through the website. The big thing to be aware of, and you'll also vote through the website. But the big thing to be aware of right now is that you will have to be a registered member with a login to the website. So even if you've been coming to meetings or attending Zoom sessions or whatever, you just want to make sure and tell those of you who are already in chapter board positions, tell all your members this, tell them to make sure that their registration is live on the website. They just have to log in. If there's change password feature, if they need to change their passwords, just make sure that they are that their profile is updated and that they've got the chapter the right chapter that they're a member of selected, so that they'll get those communications. So that's the most critical piece, really, in terms of this new online world we're in. But the good thing is it's kind of pushing, if there is a silver lining for COVID, it's pushed the envelope a little bit, and it's driven the organization as a whole to kind of update our technology. We now are doing Zoom sessions and other types of virtual sessions. Some chapters have said that that's actually made it easier, right? Because they don't need to worry about booking a venue. They don't need to worry about booking a sponsor, things like that. And so I think that will actually make a lot of things easier going forward as an organization. Did I cover everything I was supposed to, Lauren? Keep me honest.
That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, as Gina mentioned, we'll have more information from our executive directors, likely I think next week, about the process and stuff. But yeah, it's critical to get your members re-registered, make sure they work out any login kinks, because a lot of us forget our passwords since they are randomized. Yeah, 2-year term, and then nominations. Until the website portion is up on that, feel free to self-nominate or nominate a fellow colleague via email to your local chapter. It's as simple as saying, hey, I'd like to nominate this person for this board position. They'll provide you like a formal nomination form that we've got from our policies and procedures that they'll have you fill out and send in. But yeah, it's that simple. And I think the most important thing to take away is that, again, you don't need any prior board experience. You don't need to be an expert in the field. You just have to have a willingness to volunteer your time and give back to your community. Great question on committee volunteers. We forgot to mention committees entirely. So sorry about that. Thanks, Erica, for the reminder. I know many of you serve on committees on this call, and we are so grateful for your help. The organization as a whole, of course, would not be anywhere without our committees. In addition to these elected board positions, there are these committees. And to answer your question directly, Erica, they're not, it's not part of the election. It depends on your chapter. Usually chapters will, the board will appoint a committee lead, and then any volunteers, that would like to step up and join it. It's very simple, usually just an email to request to join that chapter. And then sometimes those people, those committees will meet in person. Sometimes they'll just conduct their business via email or whatnot. But yeah, committees are critical. The policies and procedures allow for committees such as a charity committee. So your chapter can get involved with, getting donations or scholarships together. Carlene mentioned some really awesome work that San Diego's doing about, reaching out to schools and getting them more involved. Encouraging girls at a younger age to get into technology careers and hopefully pursue legal so they can join us. And then some folks have committees, that do all the social work, the social events like the evening events and networking. Some will have like a special committee for just special events like those conferences, like those weekend activities, or the joint coalition events. And then I think also mentorship too is, it's not like a formalized one in the policies and procedures, but I do know that some chapters have taken a more formalized approach to providing mentors and mentees a way to connect, and then to connect those folks within their membership if folks are shy and don't want to just reach out via email or in person. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity as well outside of the board, which we've focused all on today, but to serve your local chapter in a volunteer position. And again, that would be just, shooting an email to your local chapter to say, hey, I'm really interested in such and such activities. Is there a committee? Can I join that or help out in any way? So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, I know a lot of our boards had like a social media committee. And again, it's been so popular and so helpful to the board that we've actually created that new role. So a lot of that work will shift back to this board member. But again, it's really a group effort to have, keep stuff up like that, providing relevant content and articles and updates for the events and chapters posting. So yeah, I think that's all of the committees. And again, they're not elected, it's just a volunteer thing. Usually just connect with your board. And so I think that's the top of the hour. We did really good, 12:59 over here in Pacific time. So yeah, I think we'll conclude here. If you have other questions you haven't asked, or you're too shy, or we didn't get to it because it's just like we're out of time, feel free to email me, or feel free to email Gina, or even your local chapter. And we really encourage you to get involved with this year's elections. October is right around the corner. So feel free to nominate yourself. Again, you'll just email your local chapter and say, hey, I would like to nominate myself for such and such position. If you're not ready for that step, I would even just email your local chapter to say, hey, I'm interested in the board. What roles do you think would be, that need filling, or, that would be best for me? And they can help you out, or even answer any questions one-on-one that you'd like to ask. So with that, we'll conclude today's session. Again, it's been recorded.
Real quick before we conclude, I know someone had asked about a LinkedIn post that we can share to the members. I think that's a great idea. I'm happy to email Heather. And I just wanted to let you guys know we're doing these Wednesdays videos that are being posted on the LinkedIn, the Women in eDiscovery LinkedIn page. And so you can check those out. Lauren did the first one. I just did one. God help me. They're like 1 to 2 minute little videos of like why you should consider joining the board and running for a position. You can feel free to check those out or share those as well. So check the We LinkedIn page for other updates, just as on an ongoing basis leading up to elections, because you'll get a lot of information there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Gina, for those reminders. All right. Well, with that, we'll conclude. Thanks again for joining us on Wednesday, and we'll hope to talk to you all soon. Talk to you later.